Hey, thank you very much, Ben, and very pleased to be here today with you all to present you how to build a REST API. So using MongoDB Realm in just 10 minutes or so. At least I will try to stick to the point. So I'm Maxime Beugnet, I'm a senior developer advocate at MongoDB. I'm based in Paris. Hopefully you can cope up with my lovely accent and bear that and support this for the next 10 minutes. So very quick slides and jumping right in the demo, right? So that's the point. So don't blink because it's going to be very fast. So as everybody knows, 2019, everybody was fine. The world was good. And then I think I don't need to explain to everybody what happened for the past 1 year and a half now. So we had COVID, and I wanted to take this occasion to try to share all the data sets and all the data we could find about the COVID pandemic, right? So I wanted to build some charts to make the data available, and of course build some APIs. So REST APIs and also GraphQL APIs, but that's for another demo. So here is a few examples, a few charts I was able to build with MongoDB charts. So those are available in the link in the very last slide if you want to have a look at the end. And all the resources I'm sharing today, all the links, everything will be in the last slide, and we can share probably the links in the chat, I guess. So I think you are all familiar with this Johns Hopkins University data set and all the dashboard they provided us with. So the idea was not to try to do something different or do something better. The data set they provide is actually like top notch, so we can't really beat that. They are using a lot of different sources. So yeah, I'll try to reuse this. So if you look at the bottom, they actually provide a GitHub repository. And I use this GitHub repository. Right here, there is one folder that contains a time series. In this time series, you can find 5 files. So 3 called confirm global, desk global, and recover global for the basically countries level and eventually the subdivision of countries, so like regions or province. And you have 2 big files also for the US, which provide much more details for the US region only, right? So if you look at one file, it looks like this, confirm global. So it's a CSV file format. It's pretty neat, and you can see that you have like 1 column per day of data for each different place, right? So here you see France. You have the mainland at the bottom here, and everything else is like the small other regions that they wanted to separate from the mainland, for example. So the problem with this is that if I import this CSV file in MongoDB using Mongo import, for example, which supports CSV format, then you will end up with this kind of schema design, right? Which is absolutely terrible to build a REST API onto. Because you can see that the date, for example, it's in the key instead of being in the value. Also, I have like 1 billion lines in my document because it's basically 1 line per date, so that's really terrible. Like, this is really not what I want. What I want instead maybe a date which respect the correct is a date format, which is easy for a REST API, and some kind of object like this, for example, for the localization GeoJSON. So I applied some magic Python that I don't have time to show you, but in the end I came up with this document, which is a lot more cleaner to build the REST API onto. So as you can see at the top, I have a bunch of fields with the information about the place I want to record in this document. So here it's France, the mainland, and I have 1 date and I have all the numbers for that particular day. So that's basically what I wanted to build my REST API onto. And of course, make it available, make filters, etc., etc. So make like a real REST API. So in the end, what I have looks like something like this. So you have a bunch of collections at the bottom. So I won't detail all of them, but I will work with the global one, and the others are basically declinations of the file you saw, right? So with or without the US, or just the US, etc., etc. So now let's hack. Let's jump right into the demo. So here we are in MongoDB Atlas, which is MongoDB as a service. That's the production cluster I'm using to make all the data set actually publicly available. So if you want, you have actually access to this public cluster here with read-only and read-only users and passwords. So that's also in the links at the end. And here, what I'm going to build a REST API using Realm, right? So here, this is MongoDB backend as a service system that comes on top of the MongoDB Atlas clusters that you can build. So let's jump in MongoDB Realm. So in here, you have also the existing API that I'm using in production, actually, to make all that stuff available. But I'm going to create a new one, which we're going to call data minutes. Hopefully, I can type today. So I'm going to use a production cluster here, which is hosting all those collections I just explained. I will host it in Ireland because this cluster is in Ireland, so I keep the backend close, right? So I click on Create a Realm application. I'm going to zoom a little bit. Hopefully it's not too much, not too little. So in here, you have a free tier. So what I'm building, and actually even the one in production, even if it's quite popular, it's still running on the Atlas free tier. So you can do several things in a Realm API. You can build a GraphQL API. We will be building a REST API using third-party services. You can enable, you can have authentication and many things, right? You can host your website as well and many other things. One option that is worth mentioning is in the deployment here. You have a configuration and you have a preview mode, right? So draft in Realm. I will disable that to save some time, right? So that saves me one click basically, because everything you actually do will be like batched, and then you have to deploy the whole thing at once. So for here, I'm going to use third-party services, add a service, and you can see you have Twilio, AWS, all the things, but I will do an HTTP service, call it REST API, and add the service. Now I will create a webhook. My webhook will be called global. It's going to be system, etc., etc. Here I have the webhook that will host my REST API. It's a GET because I want to make things read only for this particular case. But of course, you can play with all the other different verbs, from REST. And if I wanted, I could secure my REST API right here at the bottom, right? Use a secret or a payload signature if I wanted to. So I'm going to click on Save. When I click on Save, it's going to drive me to the function editor. And here I can edit the code that's going to be executed every time I call this webhook, right? So here, as you can see, you can, so it's just a function, right? Basic function. You have the payload, things you send, and the response. So we have the payload query. We can get like content types. We can get the body if it's a post, for example, etc., etc. I don't care about all that too much today, so I'm going to just delete all that stuff. I care about that line though. So in here, I can retrieve access to my MongoDB Atlas cluster with just one line here. So I'm just going to say that's my collection. So MongoDB Atlas service, I get access to the COVID-19 database, and it's in the global collection, colon at the end. And then I just do return the collection dot find one, right? I can delete all that at the bottom. I can save this. There is a small tool I can use already online to just run this. If I click on run, as you can see, I have already my service, right? I have already a REST API, working REST API. So as you can see, it's a bit weird because I'm actually sending the raw document from MongoDB, which supports BSON. So we can make this a bit better. So instead of doing this, I can actually use the promise here, and I retrieve a document, and I will need to populate actually the response. So response.set body of JSON dot stringify of doc. Okay, colon here, save. And now I can go back into my settings, grab my webhook, switch to Postman, copy paste this, send, and we have a working REST API. So I can just show you that. We have extracted one document successfully. So if I enhance a bit this piece of code, actually, it would look something like this. I show you the main pieces, but if we just improve this, like I can get many payload queries. I can get, I can build now a query So as you can see here, I'm just checking the field and building a query, I'm building a project, a sort, and at the end, I'm doing exactly what I just showed you in just like 3 lines, 4 lines. Call.find.sort to array. Then I have a bunch of docs, and I just populate here my response, and that's basically it. So yeah, I could just copy paste this and put it in my function here. Save. It's deployed already. And in Postman, it just works, right? So if I just click here, so without any filters, but I could filter for country. So that's going to be just too big, I guess, because I'm fetching everything right now. Yeah, it's probably too big indeed, but yeah, if I filter a bit, I guess, yeah, that works a bit better. So I have all my data about France for this example, right? And that's it. We're already online. As you can see, it's in production already, and my REST API is available to everybody now. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. You have all the links in here. Maybe we can share them in the chat. So you have a bunch of blog posts explaining all that stuff. You have access to that database, like I said, in this first blog post here. You have the REST API with all the things I just demoed here in this link. In the third one, you have an example of how to build a REST API. You have the charts I demoed at the beginning. Any questions, you can ask them on community.mongodb.com. I will be answering there. You can also ping me there directly, or you can reach me out as well on my Twitter @mbeugnet. And that's it.